Today, we are going to unpack what Australian-made certification requires, how compliance is verified under Australian consumer law, and why this matters for specification, risk management, and whole-of-life asset performance. Good morning and welcome to our webinar, Certified Australian-Made, Why Local Manufacturing Matters. I'm Georgia Lance, Marketing Officer at Wagner's CFT, and I'm here with today's guest speakers, Australian-made Queensland Sales and Relationships State Manager, Halinka Panzera, and Wagner's CFT General Manager for Australia and New Zealand, Ryan Leeson. With more than 23 years' experience across insight, strategy, and analytics, Halinka specialises in helping organisations understand what's truly driving behaviour, performance, and decision-making. Her work connects user insight, data interpretation, and organisational performance, translating complexity into clear, practical action. She holds an MBA and has spent decades helping businesses commercialize insight, develop products, reposition brands, and make better strategic decisions in real-world conditions. Today, her focus is increasingly centred on Australian manufacturing and regional industry. As Queensland State Manager, Partnerships at Australian Made, she works closely with manufacturers and producers to strengthen product positioning, navigate certification, and build trust in domestic and export markets through the recognised green and gold kangaroo. She's passionate about businesses that make and grow things locally, supporting regional supply chains, creating skilled jobs, and keeping economic value circulating within the communities where it's created. Ryan is a disciplined leader capable of building culture and high-performing teams, as illustrated across more than 10 years working nationally in the construction and engineering sector. Ryan also has a Bachelor of Civil and Geotechnical Engineering with a Masters of Engineering Science. We're also joined by Wagner CFT Marketing Manager Kelly Stewart, who will be facilitating the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Welcome Halinka, Ryan and Kelly. Before we get started, just a few webinar protocols. We are recording today's event and will make the recording public via the Wagner CFT YouTube channel. You can ask a question anytime during the webinar via the chat bubble at the top of the screen. However, we will hold your questions over to the end of the webinar for the Q&A session. And for anyone having difficulty accessing the chat facility, feel free to text me your questions on the mobile number I have just popped in the chat box now. So let's dive into today's webinar. I will hand over to Halinka.
Thank you, Georgia. Let me just share my screen. Okay, everybody should be able to see that. Well, that's a beautiful introduction, and I'm really thrilled to be here to share why Australian-made certification is important to a business and its role in not just business landscape, but as consumers. So the Australian-made logo, the green triangle with the gold kangaroo, is Australia's most trusted and recognised logo, which is no small feat from we are a non-for-profit, and to have that kind of recognition, 99% recognition of our logo is quite significant. So we are Australia's most recognised logo. The logo itself has an interesting history. It was born out of the manufacturing sector and is actually celebrating 40 years this year. So the manufacturing sector got together and decided 40 years ago that there needed to be an insignia or a logo that would help differentiate businesses that were manufacturing locally versus ones that were making things overseas. And the Australian-made logo was born. So at the Australian Made campaign, which is the governing body that we call AMCL, or the Australian Made Campaign Limited, as I mentioned earlier, we're a non-for-profit public company established in 1999, and we're regulated by the ACCC. So in fact, all of what we do has a code of conduct that we need to adhere to, and there are strict rules as to compliance. But in essence, what we do is create a third-party licensing platform. Businesses go through a process of compliance, which I'll explain later, and we also do a bit of promotion to the public and hence the recognition of our logo at 99%. So our purpose is basically identify a product that is made locally very clearly. That logo is all about identification so that a customer can easily recognize a product that is locally made versus something that is imported. And what we have seen over time is that it shortens the buying cycle. It allows your salespeople to focus on the product. And when you get the question, but is it really made here? And that market is so blurry because components might be, certain things are imported. Certification guarantees that it definitely is, and businesses point to the logo and then move straight to the product benefits and features. And over time, we've also seen that it adds value to a business. And I'll talk more about some statistics later, but it makes sense that people are actually actively seeking to engage with products that are made locally and to support local businesses. And so it does impact your business bottom line over time. The logo itself is widely used on many different products. In fact, in the food industry, you'll see that it has been legislated 5 years ago to be free for anyone producing food, and other areas there is a fee. The idea of the government is to just get this brand out there and give customers the assurance that they want. But it is used from defence to shipping. You see it in industrial sectors, B2B, and of course, somebody selling something at your Monday markets, a jewelry maker or a craft person can also use that logo. So it's very accessible to everybody manufacturing in Australia. The process of using the logo is relatively straightforward. You apply, and that's where I come in. I'm the state manager for Queensland, so I sort of assist you with the application process. Basic business details, photos of manufacturing, and then you go into the vault of compliance. So don't get involved in that sector. So again, we're governed by the ACCC. So there's a conversations had between our compliance team and the organisation that is applying to make sure that all of the rules and regulations are followed. If your business gets approved, the logo actually, or the accreditation, belongs to the product, not the business as such. So you are getting the logo approved for products. Then there is a fee, and that just depends. It's all transparent on our website, but there is a fee that is just attributed to depending on the range. So a smaller company, a sole trader would have a different fee to a larger multinational company. And then I come back into play with how you use the logo and how far you want to display it. Some businesses put it on their T-shirts, some people put it on the shop front, others put it on their website. It's really, we are more than happy to partner with a business in terms of the visibility and the impact. It becomes part of your branding strategy. There are several different kinds of logos available that you can use. What's proprietary is the green triangle with the gold kangaroo. You can't change that. But whether the wording Australian made, Australian grown, Australian made and owned is used, it really depends on your own business. The logo isn't about ownership so much, it's about manufacturing, but we do allow, if you are also owned in Australia, to have that. And here in Queensland or other regions, you also can, if you want to promote that you're making something regionally, you can have Australian made in Queensland or Australian made in Toowoomba and personalise it. So we really do work with the business in terms of how they want to communicate the value proposition. And as I said, that Australian made and grown is also ownership's not really considered when reviewing a product, but it's something that a business can share. There are other logos out there. You're allowed to put a koala on a product or just write Australian made in text. But with 84% of Australians choosing the Australian made logo, we are again 99% recognition, the logo that is most trusted. Other logos are not well known. They run around under 7% for ones that we see in the craft areas. And then they don't, those other logos aren't certified by the ACCC. So they don't, they're just logos that you can buy into, but they don't have the meaning and the trust of the consumer that our logo does have. So the idea is that you use the logo as a powerful way to align your brand with the Australian made promise. So what is it that Australian made means to, I guess, general people? It means that it's supporting local jobs. It means that products are made of high quality. There's even an area of ethical and sustainable. 89% of people believe that we use ethical labour in Australia and that our processes are sustainable. So they're all lovely things just to add to the value promise. But we often talk about price in Australia, and producing and manufacturing in Australia is often expensive. We're one of the most expensive countries to live in globally. So obviously our employment prices reflect that. But our quality of our product is what's the key differentiator. You can't compare one price of one product that's built to last for 6 years versus a product that might be manufactured in Australia. And I often hear their longevity of their product life cycle starts from 20 years and can go up to 80 or 100 years. So we need to really, when we look at pricing, not look at the cost, but over the price of a product over the term of the product life cycle. In terms of what the Australian made logo adds, 73% of Australians have a positive opinion of a business that has the logo on there. 73% of Australians like to engage with the business that are using the logo, and 75% are likely to purchase. So it's the trusted logo that gives businesses the assurance. It's a third party a certification that enables people to make a decision quickly without having to do their homework. We've all been in a situation where we've picked up a product, flicked it upside down, back to front, trying to determine whether it's really made here. And that logo proudly displayed on the product really gets us to that point. Australian Made itself is, we have a very strong social media following. We're very involved in strong PR activities across television, print, radio, online. In trade publications, you will have seen quite a lot of stories and shout outs to businesses that are Australian made. And of course, we are at Manufacturing Week and a lot of other events. And I myself hold a lot of networking events. So if you're interested in connecting with other licensees, please reach out to me. Because what we do find is businesses that are manufacturing in Australia also, they themselves have the value of wanting to support in the chain. And so they're often looking for other businesses that are doing interesting things. So we are also there to support that networking. Australian Made Week is coming up. There's also Manufacturing Week, which is happening in Brisbane this year at the Convention Centre. But Australian Made Week is when we launch an ambassador, and here's some photos of some past ambassadors. And this year's ambassador is Andy Lee. They help to promote the Australian Made logo just to consumers in fun and interactive ways. The logo itself also has a strong credibility in export markets and is central to what we call in export domain Brand Australia. So international consumer research also has found that 97% of people have a positive first regard of the logo. They believe that when they see products in international markets, that when they have the logo, that they are genuinely Australian made. And they actually really love the green and gold color combination. You can also use, you may have seen the logo in a black and white or silhouette on cosmetics, pharmaceuticals. Some businesses prefer to have a slightly different design, but the green and gold does scream it's Australian. There's also an international legal protection around countries where you're using the logo. And so that's also just a little bit of rest assurance for businesses that are in export markets. But you can see on the photo there, using your logo and the Australian made insignia next to it is a very strong marketing piece. This year we launched we've received $20 million in funding from the federal government to help promote the Australian manufacturers on behalf of the Australian made logo. So the logo and the premise made right here has been launched this year, and you will see that a number of facilities and factories are using that made right here on their street signage. In fact, I was driving past a mattress company in Yandina on the weekend, and they had it on their big signage out the front, made right here, with their own logo above and then the Australian made. People are putting it on the backs of trucks, and it's the idea a truck turns up to somebody's home, and that's just really reinforcing that this product has been locally made. That promotion campaign has been very well received with business and also consumers. And we have an ad here to show you, so let's see if I can just play that for you. I'll need to go to the next slide. I might need your help, Georgia. Or no, I've gone to the next slide. I have. Good. So there were 60 products involved in the making of that ad, and the idea is to, again, communicate to people, consumers, the amount of products that are actually made in Australia. I think that when the car industry closed, there's been a view that manufacturing in Australia is dead, and that could be further from the truth. Manufacturing is alive and well, and all those people that worked in those industries, particularly in Queensland, you see them in fabrication, in engineering. They moved over into the food sector. And so manufacturing right here is alive and well. I'd love to see the logo on the trains that are being manufactured out in Maryborough. This is an example of the logo just being promoted on some trams in Melbourne. And I believe there are some electric buses being made in Queensland. Again, we would love to see them wrapped up. And it's just a nice, fun way to communicate that we actually make a lot of stuff here. Those trams are made in Melbourne. So Australian Made Week is coming up on the 18th to the 24th of May. And Andy Lee is our ambassador, and he is the spokesperson for Australia Made in terms of just creating some fun educational pieces to engage consumers. And he's sitting there on his throne made up of quite a lot of products that are made in Australia. Or in fact, all of those products are. So we make quite a lot of basic consumables, but we've also got an ad. So let me share that with you. So that campaign is live at the moment. And it's interesting when I look at manufacturing from a Queensland lens, we have the largest pharmaceutical, nutraceutical manufacturing in the country in Queensland. We're the most diversified state with 8 manufacturing hubs. We've got businesses ranging from Sealy, who make mattresses, CrimSafe, who do security doors, and they're a national brand that have been franchised. Another franchised business that's based in Queensland is Centriusa Batteries. So everyone's probably got one of their batteries under the hood of their cars, made right here in Queensland. Technology One is an interesting business. They're a software company that people think that we only license products, and there is a little bit of grey in this software space. But as long as businesses can show that they're manufacturing and that there's data sovereignty in Australia, Technology One is a really large company that is doing some interesting work in that space. So cameras that monitor traffic control, a lot of that data and technology is made right here in Queensland. You may have driven past a Volvo truck or a Mack truck, and they have the Australian-made logo on their on the doors, about the size of your fist. So they're quite overt in promoting the Australian-made. Norweld, which is you've probably driven past one of their businesses. They're a national business. Sanofi Healthcare, who you've probably popped some of their pills and health products. Vactrux Industries is an industrial machinery, so they do a lot of spillage, vacuuming at industrial sites. So look, I could go on. There's so many fantastic, but rocket chips. We make rocket chips right here in Queensland on the Sunshine Coast, on the Gold Coast. So in terms of businesses' attitudes on buying Australian, 100% of Australian businesses surveyed say that they recognise the logo. So the recognition amongst businesses is even higher than with consumers, but at 99%, we're pretty happy with that. 77% of businesses trust the Australian-made logo. 85% of businesses are confident with products displaying the logo are actually made or grown in Australia. And 67% of organisations are likely to purchase from an Australian-made business. So some really nice numbers there. And 57% of organisations are likely to consider an Australian-made business for tender. And now that is also changing. In Queensland, actually, is taking charge here of businesses from a compliance perspective, where they're being, not compliance, procurement perspective. In the government sector, we're seeing more and more pressure being applied to choose an Australian-made business and manufactured business. And indeed, if they're not choosing an Australian manufacturer, there is now a please explain. So we are starting to see a shift. 3 in 4 licensees would recommend the Australian-made logo to other businesses. And one thing I find is we have a very small attrition rate. Businesses, once they sign up, are with us for life. So they do feel that the license is effective. So if you're considering getting a licensed or would like any information, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm very active in promoting businesses. I'd love to come and visit your site. I also support with anything that you need on the ground, and I can be contacted. In my details are there. So over to you, Ryan. That's all from Australia Made.
Thank you, Helenka. I will, I guess, cover off today Wagner's journey in this space. Just get my slides to work. So what we'll sort of cover today is why and how CFT went about getting our products officially Australian made, why that matters to engineers, asset owners, and government procurement, and the importance of sort of local and sovereign manufacturing. And as an engineer myself and as an asset owner of some significant assets here, I think I sort of speak to it from a point of a purchaser and a procurer as much as a manufacturer ourselves. So just a really high level start from the basics. What is FRP? FRP is a composite material. We combine glass and resin It's an alternate construction material for steel, timber, and concrete. Some of its benefits, it's resistant to corrosion, rot, and environmental sort of factors. So that's the key points, and that's what we make. Our products that we've had certified are our pultruded sections. So they're our circular hollow section, which is in utility poles, light poles, piles for boardwalks and other sort of marine infrastructure. Our square hollow section, this is a boardwalk in Airlie Beach, a bicentennial boardwalk. So that's the handrail posts in this example. They're our square hollow section and our rectangular hollow section. So these are all the products that we make here on site. That there is a job in Papua New Guinea for ExxonMobil called Lele Bridge, which is a connection for the workers to be able to access the manufacturing facility there. So all of what we make is made here in Wellcamp, which is just west of Toowoomba. It's our advanced manufacturing facility. We've got 150 staff based on site here. And that's sort of all the parts that Australian Made went through as part of certifying us as genuinely Australian made and not sort of making it up. So what does Australian Made mean to us, and what do we think it means to our customers? It verifies the local manufacturing origins and really provides that confidence that the products are designed for Australian conditions, have been manufactured on a repeatable and scalable environment, and I think it strengthens the procurement confidence of those that rely on Wagner's and Wagner's products every day for their infrastructure. So if we sort of dive into that a bit more, traceability. So Helenka touched on it in her presentation as well, but what Australian Made certifies is that all the raw ingredients, all the parts that are going into what you're making have also been able to pass Australian standards. If the raw materials for which your product are made haven't been imported or passed through a country like Australia, you've got no idea where they've come from, what sort of labour's been involved, all those sorts of pieces to control the quality and the traceability. So again, we provide a single source production facility, and it gives our customers the assurance that the quality control is in place and that it's consistent. Sort of work through, and there's Helenka visiting our factory as part of understanding what we do. Because it's a consistent manufacturing process, that's how we can work through and guarantee our 100-year design life. The next sort of key piece is around sovereign capability, and it's a conversation that really raised its head during the COVID sort of period, and again now with the Strait of Hormuz, it's sort of highlights when we can't get our hands on the things that are not made in Australia, be it oil, which is quite topical at the moment, but it's all sorts of other things as well that rely on shipping and diesel and all the different parts that go into a global supply chain. Having your manufacturing and having your support functions locally are why we believe it's important and why it matters when Wagners make procurement decisions. We want the assurity that we are going to be able to get the support, that we're going to be able to get spare parts, and sort of building that resilience into our supply chain is relying on others. And as Helenka touched on as well, it sort of feeds into a cycle of itself that enables businesses to grow and prosper. Why offshore manufacturers? This is a project in Mackay where there's an imported product that's not being developed for the same UV conditions as is in Australia. So we've tailored and learnt from others around the world and been able to tailor our products specifically for the Australian conditions. So the other key piece is obviously lead times, which is one of the key. Every time there's a global disruption of any sort, shipping routes and shipping supply chains are the first thing hit. So that's sort of the de-risk element is on the geopolitical world. Again, this is a photo at a place called Kew, which is just south of Port Macquarie, working with Essential Energy. Not only are our manufacturing capabilities here and speaking for more manufacturers as well, you also get the technical support, the ability to actually drive innovation. So this is working with Essential Energy on embedding EV chargers, which was with another Australian business, EVX, around being able to offer smart charging options for people without off-street parking options. So it's sort of that real interface and ability to develop together that we value and our customers value, we believe. This is one of our crews, Roman contractors from the Brisbane area that have worked with us for many years. So what we bring with them are 24 years of manufacturing in Australia and sort of a proven record that we're here to support not just today, but we're here to support into the future. And be that spare parts, be it extensions, be it care and warranty manuals, all those sorts of things. By buying Australian made, you get that guarantee that what you're procuring is there for the long term. So on a more of a product side of things, using Australian made and specifically using Wagner's products that offer the life advantage. Cost and asset owners, I believe, are starting to recognise this more and more as our labour costs increase and our maintenance budgets. More and more of our budgets are spent every year on maintenance. It's not just about CapEx, it's around maintenance, it's around safety, it's around knowing that it's designed and fit for purpose for the application it's used for. Sort of touched on this a bit earlier, but this is again Bicentennial Boardwalk in Airlie Beach. I think this is one of the earlier stages. Predictable performance, and that again we can't disappear by night. We're not just someone that's importing products and tomorrow can disappear. We're actually Australian. We're here. We manufacture. We've invested significantly into our infrastructure, and we're going to be here for the long haul. We won't dive too much into the FRP advantages, but it's really just around an alternate material to anywhere where you can use timber, steel, FRP can typically be used. The whole of life comment, and again, this is really particular to FRP products and Wagner's FRP products that are, again, designed for Australian conditions, not international conditions. Our maintenance and our total cost of ownership really comes down to the life of the product. So spending less during the life of it and having to replace it less frequency is where our products come. One of the toughest battles we've had is that when we compete with, or we are compared to international and imported products that are not made for Australian conditions, the name of FRP has been tarnished significantly. So it only takes one bad experience with a product category for someone to form an opinion on that product. And we try to, and the Australian made logo was important for us as part of differentiating our products, that it falls into that category of products, but a Wagner's CFT product is a fundamentally different product, specifically designed for that application, not just a wholesale product out of typically China or India, is where most of the other FRP in the world is made, that could be used for any number of applications and not specifically for what you're doing. This is one of our carpenters on site fabbing a girder bridge. So the role of Australian made, again, just it's a differentiator really determines if we're a manufacturer or fabricator. And that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions in our space, and Helenka's nodding her head. I'd suggest maybe other spaces as well. It's really understanding where to draw that line on, is it Australian fabricated or is it Australia? Is it manufactured in Australia? And that really, the performance of any product will come down to the base construction material that is used, regardless of how well the local carpenter or someone that's great with their hands has put it together. If the fundamental raw material itself doesn't have the durability or the life or the structural performance that you need, it can't be dressed up through efficient fabrication. So why this matters to design engineers, as an engineer myself, if I'm specifying a product, I want to have confidence that what I'm specifying is actually what's going to turn up on site, and the performance criteria that I'm using to push the bounds, be it on the deflection of a utility pole or the deflection of a truss bridge, like is on the screen in front of us there, that it will actually perform as it's meant to. Because if there's a problem and it appear in front of a court or worse, around trying to validate your position, if you've relied on a data sheet that's scratched on the back of an envelope out of a country that doesn't have any compliance on those sorts of things, you yourself are putting your neck out there and potentially making yourself vulnerable to litigation. So I guess just as a mainstay product, this is a utility pole on Kaiwai Island in New Zealand. Here it's used in application. All these products are helicoptered in. So the lightweight nature is where it sort of benefits here, and our cross arms from their inert nature. But it is being adopted more frequently across all sorts of infrastructure applications in civil and electrical infrastructure. And obviously people would be aware it's very similar base raw materials to what are used in wind turbines and aircraft. So similar bases there, and it's growing in its popularity. So the future of infrastructure materials, as I mentioned earlier, I think councils and asset owners more broadly are starting to notice that maintenance budgets are consuming more and more of the annual budget that you've been given to spend. So really focusing on things that are durable, low maintenance, and also a sustainability edge to it as well is what we're seeing as important with our customers, and we think pairs nicely with the Australian-made logo and what it sort of stands for. And Halinka touched on a bit of that earlier. So I guess the key takeaways, Australian-made for us when we're making purchasing decisions and for our customers is around traceability, compliance, and quality. Local manufacturing is important. It's the sort of the jobs that our kids will have in the future. It's the future of innovation. If we're not manufacturing here, we're not going to innovate here, and we'll really lose that product cycle that is really fit for purpose for the Australian environment. Certified production, it reduces life cycle risk. Again, if we're certifying structures or we're designing structures for 50 or 100-year design life, that's all good and well. But if you don't have someone to talk to, if there is a problem over the design life of your product, they can write anything they want on a bit of paper. And we're really about building trust in the FRP material as a structural material. Be it Wagner's or anyone else, we're really advocates for the material itself. We're on all sorts of Australian and global composite sort of groups and doing a lot of sort of collaborative work in that space to really further FRP and composites as a material class on their whole. So I guess our call to action is to specify Australian made. By doing that, you are adding all the additional benefits. And Halinka, maybe when we go to the questions section, you can touch on you mentioned in one of the earlier discussions we had that one Australian made job is a cycle of 2.3 other people. So we'll cover that off in the questions sections. Engage Wagner's CFT early in your design process if that is your objectives. We have worked broadly in that space with asset owners to be able to work through the procurement processes, but ensure you do get the benefits of Australian made and build more resilient infrastructure. As a ratepayer, myself and everyone else on the screen, we want to see our money being used wisely and invested in things that will last for the long term. That's where we can have some money to invest in something new again next year, not on maintenance of everything that's out there. And I'll close on this photo. This is Admiral's Arch that was built by Larkham General Builders on Kangaroo Island. Highly corrosive environment, saltwater spray, all sorts of things. There's our square hollow section. I think there might be some rectangular hollow section under that main deck. No circular hollow section in this one, but this is our products in action, and this is where they really sing. So yeah, appreciate everyone joining on, and we'll hand back to Georgia.
Thank you very much for your presentations, Halinka and Ryan. Before we dive into the Q&A session, I just wanted to tell everyone very quickly about our E40 grading and environmental product declaration. When we talk about elastic modulus or E-grading, we're really talking about how stiff a material is. In other words, how much it will bend or flex when a load is applied. A higher elastic modulus means the material is stiffer, so it won't deform as much under the same force. On the other hand, a lower value means the material is more flexible. This is where Wagner's E40 fibre reinforced polymer stands out. It offers high stiffness, which improves structural strength, reduces deflection, and helps resist vibrations, all critical for demanding environments. From a design perspective, this means we can achieve longer spans, carry heavier loads, and improve durability over time. Ultimately, it allows for more efficient, reliable, and high-performing structures. So if you'd like to read or download the E40 brochure, use the QR code on the screen now, and I will also include the link in today's follow-up email. An environmental product declaration is an important tool that provides transparent and independently verified information about a product's environmental impact. For Wagner's, our EPD delivers credible information that is globally recognised and independently verified, which strengthens confidence in our materials across the construction industry. It also provides detailed, verified lifecycle data. This allows designers, engineers, and clients to fairly compare our products with alternative materials using consistent environmental metrics rather than assumptions or estimates. Most importantly, the EPD helps our clients make more sustainable choices by clearly showing the environmental impact and performance of our pultruded FRP products. It supports efforts to reduce embodied carbon in construction and meet increasingly strict sustainability targets. The EPD is not just a document. It's a practical tool that supports transparency, better decision-making, and a lower carbon built environment. So if you'd like to read or download Wagner's EPD, use the QR code on the screen now, and I will also include the link in today's follow-up email. I'd now like to welcome Wagner CFT Marketing Manager, Kelly Stewart, who will be facilitating the Q&A session of the webinar today. Let's have a look at some of those questions, Kel.
Thanks, Georgia. We're going to dive straight in. George Smith, welcome from Airlie Beach up north. Great to have you on board again. Let's have a look at some of those questions George is asking. So this one might be for you, Halinka. George wants to know, is there a register of Australian-made service providers that can be accessed so that people can quickly locate suppliers for suitable services and products?
Absolutely. We have a website. So the Australian Made website has a catalogue, and there's a B2B platform and a B2C platform. So the idea is businesses can locate consumer goods and also contractors, service providers easily. And then if you're still having trouble, that's where I come in. So please reach out, send me an email, and I'll do the legwork for you. We are a non-for-profit. I'm not going to say our website's fabulous. So we are a work in progress. So if you have any frustrations, just reach out. I'm here to help.
Yeah, we've had a bit of a play around with the supplies list, and it's quite good. Pump in what you need. It'll give you the answers straight away. So give that a go, George. And if you need some assistance, don't hesitate to reach out. Probably leading on to that, and I know we had this conversation earlier as well, Halinka, about the role that Australian Made plays in advocacy. How do you help support Australian-made suppliers to get on preferred supply lists and be the product that is chosen ultimately in the end?
So we have recently partnered with the Capability Network. So they are a national body that lists all Australian manufacturers. If you are licensed, your logo is at the front of your listing. So it helps to really pull out the visibility of an Australian-made certified business. And again, we are one of many groups who are working on the ground to help create the visibility of Australian manufacturers. And I do it every day. But these relationships, like with the Capability Network in New South Wales, they've just created a female supplier list, which is a first nationally, where female-run businesses have got that visibility. So things are changing, and it's kind of a watch this space. But we are one of many who are just shouting about visibility in this space.
Ryan, you touched a little bit on the difference between fabrication and manufacturing in your presentation. Do you want to kind of expand on that a little bit and tell us why is that a problem for our industry?
It's probably not just applicable to us, but many others, that if the base product is bought in, and Halinka's used a bucket example before, if someone imports a bucket and clips the handle on, they can't then turn around and say that's Australian made. Needs to undergo its last substantial change, or a substantial change, I think is the wording, Halinka, which is more or less taking it from raw material to finished product is what needs to be happening. In the FRP space, there's others that work in our world that will import the base product, pair it with some bolts, maybe do a design with it and export it to a customer and say it's Australian fabricated. Drilling some holes and potentially painting a product and pairing it with others is not within what we think our customers are looking for when they ask for Australian made or what they expect from Australian made, and that's that sort of difference in fabrication and Australian real manufacturing, which is from the base products.
That might be a really nice segue into this comment that George has added with regards to Ellie Beach, the Bicentennial Boardwalk project. Can you just give us a little bit of an idea? This is a project that has had multiple stages over many years. And, what George has just said, that the current stage just being put in now looks almost exactly the same as the first one that was put in years ago. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
It's an interesting project, Bicentennial. Obviously, a very exposed environment, cyclonic conditions, which is a design consideration that not many around the world have to deal with, and really suits our structure. There was a bit of a we pair with Stokesy and the guys from PW Landscapes. They're now called Plants with Sundays. Used to be called, I think. As a local fabrication crew, we've got a great relationship with them, and they've got a great relationship with the local council, and are able to deliver those services and construction outputs locally in local conditions, in cahoots with the local council to avoid events and all the different things that local knowledge base gives you. And what we've been able to do there is add a bit of innovation. We're able to reuse a lot of the foundations that were done really well on that structure. So that was really around the sustainability. That the timber structure hadn't lasted very long, but the foundations were really well done originally. So we were able to sort of work collaboratively with the council there as having an Australian-based crew and really understanding our products to be able to put forward a sustainable solution that minimised the amount of disruption, environmental impact, but also gave them the life that they wanted, because there's no point having a superstructure with a 100-year design life if your substructure is not going to last the time. You're sort of shooting yourself in the foot. So yeah, that was a really interesting project. We are moving into one of the next stages at the moment, which I think takes it around the the western or northwesternmost corner, which will be fantastic for that local community.
We might add some information about that project into our follow-up email today as well, because we do have some good content on that. Helenka, this one might be for you. How do procurement teams, build Australian made into their policies?
Okay, so let's just step back a little bit. Manufacturing in Queensland represents about $36 billion worth. So we have a huge manufacturing sector split over 8 manufacturing hubs. We're the most decentralised state in the Commonwealth. So we go from Cairns to Roma to Toowoomba to everywhere in between. In terms of how many people that employs, every one person that you employ in manufacturing is 3.6 in the chain. So I was working with a business the other day and he said, we only have 10 people. And I said, that's not true. You're employing 36. But every one person multiplied by 3.6. So that's significant. So there's a definite reason for engaging with local manufacturing. Ryan, you mentioned, jobs for kids. It's just jobs in general. You can go into a large business and they may have a large physical footprint, like an Officeworks, and you'll see 2 staff. You'll go to the local coffee shop next door and you'll see 13 staff, but they might have an 1/8 of that footprint. So supporting local is about jobs. In terms of Australian made, the process of identifying something that is Australian made versus not is around, I probably didn't mention it enough, is significant transformation. So in other words, there was nothing before and there was something at the end. It isn't a bucket that has a handle affixed. I shouldn't be able to turn up to your factory with an IKEA screwdriver and assemble. It's not assembly. Manufacturing is about creating something from nothing. Some components can be imported because we don't manufacture everything here, but it is about the transformation. So in terms of, if you understand where all of that sits and the advocacy piece and how important it is for us to support local manufacturing, it's one thing that Ryan mentioned was trust, and we talk about it as trust to the customer. Ryan, you mentioned it as trust as a supplier, knowing that I'm buying components for my job that won't fail. So it's all of those things, and then supporting local isn't just trust, it's built for conditions. You mentioned UV, cyclonic events. What's that beautiful poem? For droughts and flooding rains. We are a very different environment, so you can't just buy things that are made somewhere else and hope that they last. We have pests, and they also impact things. So and then the final part is it's really, I'm just sort of painting a picture around the scope here of when I look at people in defence and they say, well, do we need to be certified Australian made because the customer doesn't buy us? And that is true, but the customer, us taxpayers, want to know that our tax dollars are being used wisely. And the Australian made logo signifies that. I was at Gilmore Space Technologies, and that their logo is on their rocket ships, and when they have political visitors in their factory, they're standing next to that logo as well as the ship itself to signify that this is an Australian initiative, Australian made, and employing local people and putting money back into our economy. I don't know if that's quite answered your question, Kelly, but I just wanted to paint that bigger picture, really.
I think that sums it up pretty well. Ryan, is there anything that you'd like to add before we throw back to Georgia and close out? Great. Well, thanks very much for coming today. Over to you, Georgia.
That concludes our presentation today. A big thank you to Halinka and Ryan for your involvement, and thank you to Kelly for facilitating the Q&A session. If you'd like to share your thoughts on today's webinar, please feel free to complete the feedback form by using the QR code on the screen or the URL that I will pop in the chat now. Or perhaps you'd like to be a guest speaker. If that's the case, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, send me a text, give me a call. However you want to contact me, I would love to hear from you. Our next two webinars are coming to you in a two-part series. So coming up in May, we'll be discovering how to select the right connection detail in fibre reinforced polymer infrastructure designs to optimise performance, constructability and cost, with guest speakers Wagner's CFT Project Delivery Lead Mitch Kelly and Structural Engineer Sabin Raud. And in June, we'll be discovering how Wagner CFT are designing infrastructure for faster and cheaper construction phases and how to translate those designs into a better bottom line for your business, with guest speakers Business Development Manager Robbie Wesley and Site Manager Ben Brooks-Fevers. So if you're interested in either or both of those webinars, use the QR codes on the screen now to register for your free online seat or to receive a recorded copy of the webinar. Link is also in the chat, and I'll be sure to include the links in today's follow-up email. That concludes our webinar for today. Thanks very much for coming, and we're going to go out on the video from the beginning of the webinar. Enjoy, and we look forward to seeing you next time.